Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to COVID Computer Camp. We're really excited about today's lesson. We're going to teach you all about how to do lip sync animations, how to make your mouth move inside a Scratch cartoon, so that your characters will look like they're really talking instead of just flapping their mouths open and shut, right? So we're going to get our characters to do lip motions. Let's get right into it here. So I have let me get... So I have a starter file that you guys will be able to use that's on my website at chromeworks.ca/lessons. I'm also going to paste a link into my YouTube chat here right now. And that is for my working file, the version that is up to date to the very moment that I'm working on stuff right now. So if you're getting stuck or you just don't want to do the coding, you can load that file, and every time you hit refresh, it'll reload with all the progress that I've made after I've saved here. Okay, so let's have a look at this file here, guys. So I've done quite a bit of work already. I want to focus on this. So we've got two sprites, the cat sprite here, who has almost no code attached to him, and we won't put any coding on him. He's just going to sit there. It's the lip animation. So you'll see that I've actually hidden Scratch's mouth here. I've gone ahead and deleted it, and I've supplemented it with a animation here that has lip motions. Let me show you what I used as a reference here. Can you guys on Discord see that? Oh, Abby's here. Good morning, Abby. So can you guys see the lip chart on Discord? Okay, good. All right. So this is a typical kind of chart showing the different kind of mouth animations that you would use to make someone say something. So to say an ah sound, your mouth would make this shape. To make an oh, it would make this shape. And you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about here. So every one of them has letters of the alphabet attached. I had to look up, there were some letters and sounds that weren't here, and so I had to kind of supplement and figure out which ones were closer to these sounds. But these are the main ones. So I've taken those animations and I've cut them out and I've put them into a sprite in Scratch. Let me just hide the kitty cat here just so you can see what's happening with this guy. All right, so...
Mr. P?
Yes?
Your website? Scratch lip sync thing, when it says the starter file, it does load a starter file with all the original graphics and sound effects. You'll need to make your own Galaga clone.
Oh! Okay, well, I edited that really quickly.
The starter file is the right one.
It is the right one? Okay, I edited it yesterday and I must have been half asleep when I did it. I apologize. I'll fix that later, but as soon as I'm off the stream here, I'll repair that. No problems. Okay, so here's my lip animation. You can see it has different costumes, which match the costumes that were on that little picture that I showed you a minute ago, right? And we can cycle through these. And so I've done some stuff in the code here. Let's go have a look at the code. This was very tedious, and so rather than having you guys do this, I decided to do this myself. So I've got two different streams of code here. Let's start with the lowercase letter A. And so what this does is every time you hit the letter A, it matches it up to the costume that makes the letter A. So if I hit the A on my keyboard, well, it's already in the right pose here. Let's try hitting another one, B. And you can see that his mouth automatically shifts. If I type the rest of the alphabet, C, D, E, F, G, H, and it just cycled through those, which is really cool. So you can theoretically use this to have your characters talk just by typing really quickly. If you were green screening it and then recording it, you go hi and just type H-I, hi, like that, or hello, hello. Now notice I typed just the one L, right? When you're typing in letter sounds, of course, you're not going to want to. There are some sounds that are combinations of letters or more than one letter, like hello, for example, has two L's in it. You don't say hello, so you have to get rid of the extra L. Or if I'm doing something like goof or something like that, I would just go G-O-F. Who's whistling on my stream here? Kian, mute your microphone, please. Dude. All right. So here's all the different sound effects here, and each one is just mapped to a key on the keyboard. Now the problem with mapping stuff to the keyboard this way, we can't really program it, right? So if we want, so we're going to be doing a program today that actually automates this process, so I can type hello into my keyboard and then Scratch will automatically say back hello without my having to type the letters over one at a time. I'll be able to feed them all in at once, basically. So the problem with these keyboard commands though is we can't code them, right? There's no way to say press A inside Scratch. You actually have to press the letter A. So I had to do a second stream of the program that basically duplicates the first, but these are all messages, right? So now I can send out, broadcast a letter A or whatever. So let me show you again. Let's go to our broadcast. And so anything that I broadcast in the code, let's say I do want to do an O sound, for example, I can just broadcast it, and then he'll automatically switch to an O, which is just by changing costume here. Here's the letter O way down here, and he switches costume to the O costume. So we're going to use this today to type something into Scratch's ask a question window. We're going to be able to type in the words, and then we're going to hit enter, and Scratch is going to say the stuff that we told him to say here. So let's get started, guys, and I'll show you a little bit about how it works. So again, we don't need to do much or anything at all inside the Scratch sprite, so let's just leave him here. We're going to do all our coding inside the face animation window here. All right, so let's not mess with this stuff here, but right beside it, we'll add some extra code here. There we go. Now we're going to be using Scratch's text-to-speech function as well. So in addition to shaping his mouth, Scratch is actually going to say the words here. So you guys probably remember that to add text-to-speech, we have to go down to the lower window here and click on that plus sign. So text-to-speech is an extension, which means that it's not a normal part of Scratch. It's something we have to add on later. So I'm going to go over to the fourth one over, which says text-to-speech, and enter that. And that will give us 3 new blocks that we can play with that all have to do with text-to-speech. We've used these ones before, but just as a reminder, we can just go set the voice to alto, for example, and then type something to speak.
Hello.
Or we can set to a higher voice. If we want the cat talking here, we might want to use the squeak voice.
Hello.
Well, that didn't work. Let's try that again.
Hello.
Hello. Or we could say, hello, I am Scratch. What's your name?
Hello, I am Scratch. What's your name?
Okay, so what we're going to do is create the ability to type this kind of thing in, but then, as well as saying the words back, Scratch is going to mouth them with his lips, and that's the basic idea here. It's a little bit more complicated than it sounds, but I think it'll all make sense to you as we're working on it. So let's get going. We're going to start by setting that voice to squeak. If you want Scratch to speak with a different voice, like a deep, giant voice or something like that, feel free to do that, but that's what I'm using. And the first thing we want to do here is ask a question. So some of you guys have found this already, but over in, oh, it's in looks. No, hold it. Where is the ask a question? I think it's in sensing. Oh, here it is. In our blue sensing blocks, there's one here that says ask what's your name and wait. We haven't really used this one very much, though I've seen other people use it in your program. It's a pretty simple function. Let me show you how it works. It's a variable, but it's a canned variable, which means that we can't make any changes to it at all. Like we can't you can basically enter text here, and we can't change the name of it. We can't do a lot of the other fun stuff that we can do with variables. We can't set the variable. I can't say set question to something. This is the only way that we can add data to it, and this is the only way we can pull it out by pulling this little bubble called answer and putting it into there. So let's type it. So this ask part here, what's your name, is the part that Scratch says, or when you click on him, actually the mouth will say it, right? So I'm going to go, what's your name, you see, and then it leaves a little input window here where you can answer the question. So I can call it Mr. T, and then hit enter or click the checkbox. And now that information has been passed onto this variable. You can see here under answer, it says Mr. T, right? And so that is the information that's being stored inside that variable. So you could take that information and do anything you wanted with it. For example, you could have him say it by going say answer, and then Scratch will go Mr. T like that. Okay, so we're going to ask the question. And the question we're going to ask is, what do you want me to say? Question mark. All right. Now, we're going to take the answer. We don't want it to be stuck in the answer because we have to make changes to it. We can't change the answer once it's input there. What I actually want to do is add a space after the last character in the answer. So if I type more than one word, our code here is going to be looking at the words, right? We want it to pronounce each word individually. So if I type I am a cat, we don't want it to say I am a cat with its lips, right? We want it to pause in between each words. To do that, we have to teach Scratch to figure out the difference between words. This is all one long string right now, and we're going to want to convert it in the answer into string. Just by the way, I'm using that term and I probably haven't explained it properly. A string is a coding word for a selection of characters in text, basically. So whenever you're working with text instead of numbers, you're dealing with something called a string, which is just a collection of characters all put together. So Scratch doesn't see these as words, it just sees a whole bunch of characters. It sees I and then space, and it sees space as a character too, and then am as two different characters, and then the next space as a character. So what we have to get Scratch to do is look through these through this entire list of characters that we entered into this string, and search for the first space that we find, and then go back and read that word out in the first word, and then keep reading until it gets to the next space. And it's just going to keep doing that as we go through, but it's not going to know how to pronounce the last word, because the trigger that's going to make it say a word is always finding that space. As soon as I find a space, go back and read the last word is the command we're going to be putting in. So we have to add a space to the end of this, and we're just going to do that by putting the answer into a new variable. Let's go create a variable called make a variable, and I'm just going to call it phrase. This is the entire phrase you're speaking, and that's spelled Phrase like that. And you don't have to change anything else. We'll just click on OK. Oh, and this one already exists, so I've gone ahead and made this, and it's already in your starter file, so you don't have to bother with it. Okay. All right, next we are going to, so we have that variable. We're just going to set that variable. So I'm going to grab a variable button here. I'm going to go set phrase to, now we want to put the answer in there, but we also want to add a space to it. So we're going to need to go to our text functions, which are in the green operators commands. And we're looking for this one here that says join apple and banana. And what that one does is take two words and mash them together into one, or any two strings of characters and mash them into one. And so when I put that in there, and then I put answer here, it's going to join answer with banana, which we don't really want to do. Let me just show you what that looks like. And I'm going to click on the word phrase here, and you can see I am a 999 cat. What? Okay, that is weird. That's not what I was expecting. All right. Oh, I guess because I didn't type anything. Hey, let me try that again. I like to eat space and then enter. Oh, I didn't. I typed it into the wrong place. What do you want me to say is what should be here. What do you want me to say? Okay. So now I'm going to type in here. I like to eat. Now it's not the right, it's banana instead of bananas, but there we go. And now when I go and look at my phrase, it says I like to eat banana, right? It added what was in the answer to what was in the last word here. So instead of a word here, we're just going to put a space. So I'm going to erase everything and just add a space. Now you won't be able to see it. There's a little bit of potential confusion here because later on we're going to add something that has nothing in it. So there's no way to tell the difference between a box that has nothing and a box that has a space. This one has nothing. Whoops. And this one has a space in it. Absolutely no way to tell a difference. So just be careful about that, guys. All right. And we're going to do... So we're going to send it off to a separate stream of code here where it's going to look at your answer and start to make modifications to it. It's going to take each individual word and put it into a little bit of code, okay? So we're going to go over to our My Blocks, and we're going to create a new custom block that says process answer. So Processanswer. So let me zoom in on that so you guys can see it. So this is my new block. It's just going to do all the work that we have to do to take that answer and cut it up into little pieces, to chop it up for me. So I'm going to add the process answer underneath here, and the rest of it's going to be taken over by this block of code here. I'm going to take a little break for a minute. I see some more people have joined us on YouTube, and I'll be right back. All right, so now that we have our text string entered, we need to start processing it. We've created this new block called process answer. Let's start filling it up. Okay, so the first thing we need, I guess I don't have to create any variables because they're all in here. We're going to be using a couple of different variables here. Let me show them to you. So our first variable, item number, that is, so we're going to be looking at every single character inside the text that we entered. So item number is the first character, and then, so if I typed hello, H would be item number 1, E would be item number 2, L would be item number 3. And letter position, hold it, that's not making sense now. So, and then letter position is, you know what? I think that I'm not even using that variable. So I think I started off saying, oh no, letter position we're going to use later. So let's not worry about letter position right now. That's a different variable that we're going to use later. Okay, so at the very beginning, we're going to set our item number to 1. We're going to be looking at the first character inside our thing. Now, we're going to take that character, we're going to put it into a word that Scratch is going to say. So first we have to set up that variable to be blank at the beginning. So let's go set word. And now here's the spot where we don't want a space, we want a blank. So I'm just going to delete the 0 in here and just leave it blank. So now our new word is going to have nothing in it. All right, now we need to start looking at these letters one at a time, and we're just going to be storing every letter. We're going to run through a loop here that goes check the letter, see if it's a space. If it's a space, then say the word. If it's not a space, add that letter to the word that we're building here, to this word variable. So we need to repeat a bunch of times. How many times? Well, let's go grab our repeat block here. It says repeat 10. Now we want to repeat the number of times that matches the number of letters that we typed into our word. So the word is stored in a variable called phrase. Let's pull that out here. So that's what we just typed. The last thing I typed is I like to eat banana. Okay, and we're going to. So that's going to be blanked out anyway at some point. Actually, we should probably erase that right now as well, just in case we have problems with it later. So let's go set phrase to blank as well. I don't think that's really necessary, but just to be safe, let's blank that out. Okay, so we want to repeat with the number of characters in the phrase. So we're going to go to our green operators, and there is a function here called length of apple, and that tells you the length of the word that you type. So if I click on it here, apple has 5 characters. I can type hi, and it will return 2 characters. And if I put phrase in here, it'll tell me how many letters are in the phrase. So in this case, 20 letters. So it'll repeat this loop 20 times. Let's pop that in the hole. Good. All right. So now we're counting the number of characters in the phrase. So we're repeating that number of times. So now let's start searching in here. So let's grab an if statement. Under control, it is an if statement. Okay. Oh, it's not an if statement, it's an if else. Okay, I caught myself early this time. Sorry. We're going to grab an if else and put it into this hole here. So what we're going to start checking for here is to see whether we found a space or not. If we found a space, we're going to say the word. If not, let me save my file here. There we go. So if we find a space, we're going to do what's in here, which is say the word. If not, we're going to add that character to our word, okay? So let's go. So we're looking for an if. We need an equal sign here. Let's grab an equal sign. So we're looking for we're going to start at item number 1 of our phrase, the first character in our phrase. So we need to say, okay, we're going to grab this one that says a letter. So under green here, we're going to grab this one that says letter 1 of apple. And so letter 1 of apple is A. I could say letter 3 of apple, which will be P. You get the idea, right? We're going to pop that into the left bubble here. So if letter, now which letter? The first letter, the item number, right? So our item number is number 1 at first, so we're looking at the first letter. So let's go grab that variable that says item number and pop that in here. So if the first letter of our word, our phrase goes in here, right? So we're going to pop our phrase. If the first letter equals space, we're going to put a space in here. All right. So if the first letter is a space, it won't be. Then, but whenever it does find a space, it's going to talk. So we're going to broadcast a message here that says talk. So we're going to go to our events and we're going to broadcast. And I think I've already created an event here called talk. Oh, no, I haven't. So I'll go new message and I'll just type in talk. And that will be the command that will get Scratch to say that particular word. All right. Now, once we've said the word, we want to blank out the word and start building our next word in the sentence. So we're going to have to set that word back to blank again. So I'm going to go set variable right underneath here. We're going to set word to blank. So I'm going to delete again. All right, there we go. And we're going to change the variable item number back to 1 again. Oh, change item by 1. So what we're, okay, so we're going to grab a change variable and put it right underneath word here. We're going to change that item number by 1, which means next time it comes around this loop, it's going to look for letter number 2 of the phrase instead of letter number 1. Okay, so what if it doesn't find a space? We're going to put that into the else statement now. So let's go set variable. We're going to grab a set variable. We're going to set our word to contain what was already there. So there was a blank there, but we're going to join that blank with the first character that we found here. So we need a join command. Let's go to our operators. We'll go join apple and banana. We don't want to join apple and banana. So we want to join our existing word, which right now is blank, with the letter. So it's going to be letter number 1 of our phrase, or letter number 2 of our phrase, or whatever the letter is. So I'm going to grab the one that block here that says letter 1 of apple. I'm going to pop that in the hole. And I'm going to say letter item number. So let's go to our variables, which are right down here. I'm going to say item number of phrase. So we're just going to we're going to modify our word variable to contain the word variable plus the letter that we just added to it. So letter by letter, we're going to keep building this word until it's done, and we'll know we're done when the space key works. Okay, so there's a little bit more code. There's one other thing we want to do, which is even regardless of whether we're in this end of the loop or this end of the of the branching statement here, we still need to change that item number by 1. So I'm going to just duplicate this, create a new block, and pop that in there, or you can just do it in the variables as well. Okay, so we're almost ready to test this. So now we are building words, right, until we get to a space here. Now I think I could probably test this out and show you what happens, but it's going to go all the way through and just give us a last word, I think. Let me just test this out and see if it works. I'm not sure what happened at this phase, but I have a feeling it'll probably say the last word. So let me click my green flag. It's, what do you want me to say? I'll say this is a test. Enter. Now it's gone through the whole process here, and now I should have a word stored inside this word variable. So let's see what the word is, and it should be test, I think. No, it's blank, eh? All right. I think this is gonna, I'm sure this is gonna work at some point, so let me think about this. Why would it, So as soon as it got to the blank, it reset the variable back to blank again, right? So we can't actually test this until we do the next block of code. I'm going to take a super quick break and talk to my audience and make sure everything's going okay. And we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. And without further ado, let's get back. All right, so we've parsed through, and that's the word for separating a string into little pieces. We've parsed through the individual words of the thing, but whenever we broadcast this talk message, nothing is actually happening here, right? Because we don't have the block of code necessary to make it do anything, and so it's just cycling through, and nothing much is really happening. So let's go and tell it what to do when it receives that talk message. So we're going to go grab a when I receive talk. So let's go to our events. We're going to go when I receive that talk command. It's right here under the letter T. They're always alphabetical. We're going to speak. So we're going to use that text to speech to make him speak the word. The lips aren't going to move yet, but just bear with me, it'll happen. So we're going to go down to text to speech, and we're going to go speak. This is what I should have shown you before the break. We could at least have had him talking at this point. We're going to go speak the word. So go to our variables, find the word, and have him speak it. So now Scratch should audibly say the words as they're coming up here. Let's give it a try and see how that works. Hello, my name is Scratch. All right, let's try that out. And crickets. All right, what is going on here? There's one more bit of code here that okay. So it should actually be saying the word now, eh? Huh. All right. I'm going to continue with the lip sync portion. So what is going on? Am I just not hearing it? What is the word right now? Is it blank? All right. Let me just test this out and make sure my sound is working properly. We're going to go just set that word variable to test. And I'm going to try to get him to say test.
Test. Test.
Okay, that part's working.
Test.
So we're broadcasting the talk message. And okay, so I know this code works. Let's just keep going here, and we'll do the last part of it with the lip sync, and then we'll see if we can get this working. All right, so I'm just still going to speak the word here. There's a couple of other little blocks of code we have to do here. The other thing we've got to get him to do is to say the word with his lips. So we're going to grab another version of this when I receive talk. When I receive talk, that's under events again if you want to go grabbing it. And we're going to do a new custom block of code that says say word, and that's going to actually make him make his lips move. So I'm going to click custom block. I'll say word, and I'm going to grab that say word block and add it underneath talk. So when he gets talk, he's going to simultaneously talk with voice recognition, and he's going to talk by moving his lips as well. Okay, so let's fill up the that block of code for say word, and we'll get him to do what he needs to. So under say word, where did that new define block command go? We're going to start filling that up now. So okay, so we got a variable in here called this letter, and I've already made it for you. We're going to go set this letter to 1. This will make sense in a second. Set this letter to 1. Set letter position, which is the position where this letter is going to be. So we're going to set a new variable called letter position. And again, we're going through this letter by letter, I think, and that's what we're doing here. So we're going to repeat. Oh, okay, so this is where it actually processes the word, right? Okay, repeat for the length of the word. So we're going to go into our control blocks and we're going to grab a repeat 10. And we need to find the blue block that says length of, and pop that in there, length of word, which is right here. So we're going to repeat the number of times that matches the number of letters in the word. So you remember that in that last block of code, we cut the text apart, we snipped it into a little word. Now we're going to get it to go through every letter of that word, not of the whole string, not of the whole answer, but just the first word inside our code here. So inside there, we're going to say set this letter to letter position of word. So that means just basically we're going to make the letter that he says. So let's go set this letter, which is, this is the letter he's actually going to pronounce with his lips, right? So we're going to set that letter to letter 1 of word, or letter 2 of word, right? So let's go to our operators. We'll grab this letter 1 of Apple command, and we'll say, we're going to say letter position. So let's go to our variables. We'll grab the bubble that says letter position. So letter 1 of our word. All right. Then we're going to broadcast the letter that we picked so that we can get one of these things to initiate the speech. So we're going to go broadcast under our events, broadcast, and we're going to broadcast this letter, which is the letter that we which is letter number 1, and then we're going to change that later on to letter number 2 or whatever, right? So let's go to our variables. We're going to grab one that says this letter and pop that into the broadcast. Instead of pulling from the pull-down menu, we're going to tell it with a variable. Broadcast this letter, and it'll change every time our letter changes. Okay, so now we need to change our letter position by 1 so that we're looking at our next letter in the word. We're going to put a little delay in here, which we may or may not need later, but as we're saying the letters we don't want them to go by too quickly. We might not need this, but let's keep this here for now, 0.1 seconds. When we're done talking, when he said that word or that letter, we're repeating for the length of the word, basically. So once we're done that word, we want it to kind of close his mouth and get back to a reset position. There's one costume that I picked that kind of looked like he was doing nothing, and that is a costume that says MBPH. So we're going to switch back to that costume again when we're done talking. So let's go to our looks. We'll go switch costume to MBPH. And so after he's done saying that first word, that should work. So let's test this out, cross our fingers, and see if this works. What do you want me to say? Hello, world. And crickets. Okay. So something's wrong in my code. I'll go have a look right now, and I'll be right back. All right, Gamer Davey has come through again with an explanation of what was going wrong. It was actually one of these complex problems where there was 2 things wrong instead of 1, and that's why it's messed up here. So let me show you in the code. All right, the first thing that happened wrong here is inside our process answer. If we find a space, we broadcast that talk message, but it goes by so fast that it doesn't have time to actually do what we told it to. So we're going to change that broadcast talk to broadcast and wait. And it's basically the code is going to sit here and not change the item number and not reset the word to blank again. So if it goes too fast, what will happen is it'll broadcast that message and keep going through the code here. It'll reset the word to blank, and then it'll have nothing to say. So we got to get him to pause at that moment. And what we're going to do is go broadcast talk and wait instead of broadcast. So I'm just going to substitute that in there. And that will be part of the problem. The other part of the problem was we had set one of our variables at the beginning. It was set phrase to blank. We don't want that in there. So you're going to have to pull that out and delete it. I'm going to save my file now, and just to show you guys that it works, let's try that again. So I'm going to go, when green flag clicked, what do you want me to say? And I'll have him say, hello, world.
Hello, world.
There we go. And it's a little freaky, isn't it? He's kind of talking. Let's try a longer thing. I am a cat. What are you? Question mark. Now, this code doesn't care about capital letters or lowercase letters, so your English doesn't have to be perfect. Even your spelling doesn't have to be perfect because you're just trying to get them to say letter sounds, right? Sometimes just typing in the letters, like typing H-E-L-O instead of H-E-L-L-O will make him stop him from saying something twice or saying it too long, right? So you're going to want to, when you're telling your cat what to say, you're going to make sure that when there's stuff with difficult spellings, like the word through, for example, T-H-R-O-U-G-H, that's a lot of letters, right? I would just type it T-H-R-E-W or something like that, for example, like the shorter version of through, and then he might say that better. Let me have him say this sentence.
I am a cat. What are you?
There we go. And so it's not perfect, guys, right? This isn't like studio quality animations, but it's a pretty good approximation of what you want your character to, of a lip sync that you could use in a character, right? So you could even use this in a video game. Now, right now we have this working with inputs, which means every time you want to get him to say something new, you've got to get him to do it over again. So we're going to modify this program just a little bit now to make it so that it'll say the thing over again, just in case you wanted to say something twice and you don't want to have him ask the question. So now that we have our phrase set up in our variable, and all we have to do is tell our guy to process the answer again, and they'll say the word. So watch what happens if I click on process answer.
I am a cat. What are you?
There you go, and you see that he'll actually do it again. So we just have to invoke this command with a keyboard entry. So I'm going to go to my events. I'll grab a when space key pressed, and I'm going to tell him to process the answer as soon as I hit the space key. So now anytime I want him to talk and say that word again, I can just hit the space key.
I am a cat. What are you?
Okay, good. All right, we're doing great. There's a little bit of code I want to add now. So when you're doing lip sync, sometimes you're going to want a certain delay, especially if you're lip syncing to music, which I'm going to show you guys in a minute. We're going to be another 5 to 10 minutes, by the way. So Frida, you might want to check later. We're going to show how to do this to music because Frida's leaving right now. We'll see you later, buddy. All right, so if we're going to be lip syncing to music, not every letter is going to sound the same length. So you're not going to say, if I'm singing so long, you're going to want him to hold that O position for longer. So what we're going to do is add an ability to delay the transition from one lip sync to the other, and that'll let us fine tune these messages a little bit, okay? We're going to do that inside the process answer. We're going to add one more if statement on top of the other ones. So let's go into our if statements here. Control if. Now it's really difficult to add an if statement to the existing ones. You'll see that it'll want to wrap it around the rest of the code here. So I'm just going to hold off for a second here. I'm going to move this on the side. I'm going to drop the entire contents of this repeat, and I'm going to drag it out and put it underneath the first if statement, the blank one. Then I'm going to drag the whole mess back in here again. Now I can start working on this. So this is going to be a code that's going to say, that's going to have it look, while it's looking at the letters, it's going to be looking for numbers now. And if it finds a number between 1 and 9, it's going to introduce a delay into the process. And that's what we're going to be coding really quickly here, guys. So to do that, we need an AND statement. So let's go grab an AND from our operators. And so we're going to say if we need a greater than and a less than sign here. So let's pop a greater than, which is facing to the right here. Oh, I got to put it inside the AND statement. Pop that all back in. And we'll put a less than sign on the other side. Now we need to fill up these 4 bubbles. So the bubbles are going to say, okay, so the first one's going to say letter, item number of phrase. So let's go grab that block here that says letter 1 of Apple. We'll pop it in there. And we're going to say, you know what, we already have one of those blocks down below here. I'm just going to copy this one from the if statement down here. If the character we're looking at, letter, item, number of phrase, let's duplicate that. And I'll pop it into that first hole. If it's greater than 0, which means it's number 1 through 9, or less than 10, and we're actually going to duplicate that letter, item, number again. Duplicate, and pop it into this hole here. All right, well, we're getting some stuff in the way here. So let me move everything over to the left a little bit here. Okay, so if if the character we're looking at is greater than 0 or less, whoa, I think I did something wrong here. So letter, item, number of phrase, oh, okay, I put a greater than sign. I copied this original one instead of copying the one below, and that's what happens, and I got an extra greater than sign. So if the number I'm entering is greater than 0 or less than 10, meaning a number from 1 to 9, all we have to do is wait. So let's go to our control blocks. We'll grab a wait. So we're going to grab a letter, item, number of phrase divided by 10. So we need a divided by line here. Basically, okay, so the number that we're going to pick is going to determine the length of the pause. So, and we're going to divide the answer by 10. So if I put a 1 in there, so if I go hello 1 space world, what will happen is it will wait 1/10 of a second. And if you want a longer pause, you can put a bigger number in there. So let's grab that same block that we've been using over and over again, but we need to put it inside. Oh, we've already put it inside here. So if letter, item, number of phrase, where are we? Sorry. We're going to wait. Letter, okay, now we need a divided sign inside here. So let's go to our operators. We'll grab a division symbol, which is a slash. And we're going to go divided by 10. And we're just going to grab that same block, letter, item, number of phrase. So I'm going to duplicate it over the word of, duplicate, and pop that in there. Let's save our code again. All right, and so now I think this should be working. So if we add a number in here into our entry, it'll increase the amount of time that it's delaying. So let's try this here. We're going to have them say hello, space. You always need a space there. Then I'm going to type a 9, and then I'm going to type a space, and then I'll say world. So instead of saying hello world quickly, he'll pause in between the words. Let's try it out.
Hello. 9 world.
Okay, he said the word though, eh? He wasn't supposed to say the word. Oh, we are missing one block in here, which is change item number by 1. We want him to get onto the next word, which will blank out that number. So let's go inside that block and go change item number by 1, and that should clear that problem. Let's try it one more time. Hello 9 world.
Hello world.
There we go. That's perfect. I just forgot that one little block. Okay, so that's working nicely. Now we have a little bit more control over the lip movements. Now we could go back and have him lip sync to a song or something. So I already have we're not going to go through a lot of this today because we're running out of time, but I just wanted to show you quickly how I might go about coding him to lip sync to a song, okay? So I'm going to go... So where are we entering our text? It's up here at the top, right? Now, if I wanted to sing a song, I don't want to keep typing in the song lyrics over and over and over again here. So I'm actually gonna let's go save now. I'm gonna make a duplicate of this code here, duplicate. And this part here, this is a function that has them ask a question. I'm just going to disable this just by disconnecting it here. We can use this again later if we want to go back to the Q&A format. But what I want to actually do here is just manually type in the phrases now. So I'm going to get rid of all of this. We can still, oh no, we still need this, but we don't want the ask block anymore. and we're just going to go set phrase 2, and then I can type the answer into here. So instead of having him ask first, we're just going to manually type the entire sentence into here, and then every time we process the answer, he'll say this thing over again. So let me set that phrase to a song lyric. Let's go into our sounds here, and we'll see what we have here. So I've got 2 cat songs. The first little block here is called Stray Cat Strut.
I strut right by with my tail in the air. Stray cat strut,
And the other one is another cat song. This is Tom Jones' What's New Pussycat. You get the idea. So I'm going to use the Stray Cat Strut here. You can use any song you want to. I just tried to find some cat songs, and those were the first ones that came to mind. So we're going to get our cat to say the first couple of lyrics of this song.
I strut right by with my tail in the air.
Okay, I strut right by with my tail in the air. So let's type that in right into our phrase. I strut right. Now we don't have to spell it properly. So I'm going to say R-I-T. Let me zoom in here. I strut right back with, and I don't need the H here. I'm just going to say with my tail. And I don't want to say A-I, so I'll just go T-A-L in the, I'll just go the, actually, let's try the with an actual the, and then air, and just A-R. I strut right back. So I've done a simplified form of the word here, right? Because I want him to, I want to have him say, whoops, there we go, I'm back to normal again here. I want him to say the words in as efficient a way as possible and not say unnecessary letters in the word, right? Let's see what this sounds like. It's not going to be right because the timing is off, but let's just give it a try. So I'll click on this, on the green flag. Oh, but we are not playing the music yet as well. So when I press the green flag, we also want to start that sound. So let's go start sound. Stray cat strut. Let's try that again.
I strut right by with my tail in the
Okay. Now we don't want him saying the speech to text in this version of the program either. We're modifying it. So this part here where it says say word, or sorry, where it says speak word, which is right down here, we're just going to disable this for now so that he's not actually talking as well. All right, let's try that one more time. Green flag.
I strut right by with my tail in the air. Stray cat strut.
Okay, that was pretty good, right? So the point with the numbers was, in between these phrases, if I want to do the next part of it, we probably need a bit of a space here. So I'm going to add a space and then a number 5, and then I'll have him say stray cat strut. Stray cat strut. Okay, let's try it again.
I strut right by with my tail in the air. Stray cat strut.
And that's pretty good, eh? So again, you can slowly build up the lyrics for a song here. So anyway, if you guys are interested in this, I would love for you to find your own song and try and make Scratch or any other character, right? You can take any character and remove his mouth and add this mouth animation to him as long as his head's facing in the right direction. So what I'd love for you guys to try at home is to make a little bit of a lip sync. Get 3 or more entries, I will have another contest. Are you guys interested in another contest? Anyone? Can you guys let me know right now quickly, would you like to do a lip sync contest where we actually judge it like we did the robot contest last week? Anyone want to say? How about you guys? You'd like to do that, Chris? Okay. Anybody else? In? Peter? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, so I'm going to. I have a remix room set up for lip sync. If anyone at home wants to add a lip sync to this, create their own lip sync song and have Scratch or another character say it. do any other animation stuff you want to. I'm gonna hold a contest. I'm declaring it here, guys. So even if only Chris enters, then he will be the second winner of our contest. Anyway, but so I would love for you guys to come up with a little lip sync song for me, and if you want to do an animation to go with it, even better. Otherwise, I am back tomorrow. I've got a really cool quickie lesson planned for tomorrow, which is parallax. You know how in some platformer games and stuff, when you move around, the background seems to move, and different parts of the background move at different speeds, which creates a really cool 3D effect. So I'm going to teach you guys how to do that, and we're just going to build on top of an old platformer title, and we'll just learn how to do this parallax view. And it's a super cool function that I think you guys are going to be able to use in a lot of your game projects. I'm looking forward to teaching you that. Later on in the week, we are doing a breakout, or you guys might know it as brick breaker type game. So Thursday, Friday, that's our plan, and we've also got that Kahoot plan for Friday. So by all means, submit some Kahoot questions to info@chromeworks.ca. I am done here, guys. I will see you tomorrow.